I came home from the lawyer's office, thrilled to share the news. My uncle left me 4 apartments and a beach house. My hand froze on the doorknob when I heard Robert say, "Once she signs the power of attorney, we transfer everything to Michael's name and get her committed." Lauren's laugh was sharp as broken glass. The nursing home already has a room waiting. I stood there, shopping bags cutting into my palms as my 43-year marriage shattered into 1,000 pieces. If you are watching this, subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. I need to back up and tell you how I got here. Standing outside my own front door, eavesdropping on my husband and daughter-in-law plotting to steal my inheritance and lock me away like yesterday's trash. That morning, I had been at Reed & Parker LLP, my Uncle Henry's law firm. Mrs. Carter Thomas Reed had said sliding documents across his mahogany desk. "Your uncle was very specific about his wishes. 4 apartment buildings in downtown Boston and the beach house in Nantucket go directly to you. No joint ownership, no probate, just you." I had stared at the papers, my hands trembling. Uncle Henry had always been my favorite, the only one who had listened when I talked about wanting to study architecture instead of getting married at 23. The total value I had whispered conservatively, $9.6 million. I had driven home in a daze, stopping at the grocery store out of habit. Robert loved his Tuesday pot roast. After 43 years of marriage, some routines ran deeper than thought. I had even picked up those expensive imported beers. He liked the ones we usually could not afford. Now I stood frozen in my own doorway, listening to my husband conspire with our daughter-in-law to rob me. What about Michael Roberts' voice carried through the door? He does not need to know the details yet. Once Evelyn's safely in Maple Grove Care Center, we will explain how her mental decline made it necessary. "She seemed fine this morning," Lauren said, and I could picture her examining her manicured nails. "You will need to sell the confusion angle better. I have been laying groundwork for months, mentioning how she forgets things, gets dates mixed up. Dr. Andrew Collins will sign the evaluation forms. He owes me a favor." My throat closed. All those times Robert had corrected me in front of friends, insisting I had gotten the day wrong or forgotten a conversation that never happened. I had thought I was losing my mind. Turns out, I was losing my freedom instead. "When do we make our move?" Lauren asked. "This weekend. I will tell her we need to update our estate planning now that Henry's gone. Get her to sign documents while she is emotional and vulnerable. She will not even read them carefully. She trusts me." The grocery bag slipped from my numb fingers. A beer bottle shattered on the porch, and the voices inside went silent. "What was that?" Lauren hissed. I forced my shaking hands to gather the bags, leaving the broken bottle. "Robert," I called out, making my voice cheerful as I turned the knob. "I am home." I dropped something on the porch. "These bags are so heavy." I walked into my living room and found them sitting on opposite ends of my cream-colored sofa. Robert with his newspaper and Lauren scrolling through her phone. Picture perfect innocence. If I had not just heard them, I would have seen nothing wrong. "Hey, sweetheart." Robert folded his paper and smiled at me. The same smile that had won my heart 43 years ago. "How did it go at the lawyer's office?" I set the bags on the counter, my mind racing. I needed to think, to plan, to figure out how to protect myself. But first, I needed them to believe I suspected nothing. "Oh, lots of paperwork. I started unpacking groceries, my movements automatic. Uncle Henry left me some properties. Nothing too exciting." "Properties?" Robert's voice sharpened with interest. "What kind of properties?" "Just some apartments downtown and the beach house. I have not really looked at the details yet." I pulled out the pot roast, keeping my back to them. "I thought we could celebrate tonight. Your favorite dinner." In the mirror over the sink, I watched Lauren and Robert exchange glances. She raised an eyebrow. He gave a subtle nod. "That is wonderful news, Evelyn. Lauren said, her voice dripping with false warmth. We should definitely celebrate. Maybe this weekend we could all sit down and go through the paperwork together. Robert and I could help you understand everything. That would be lovely. I smiled at her reflection, and something cold and hard settled in my chest. What would I do without family? What would I do? Indeed. I spent Tuesday night lying next to Robert listening to him snore, wondering how long he had been planning this. 43 years of marriage, and I did not know the man beside me at all. Wednesday morning, I made his coffee exactly the way he liked it. 2 sugars and a splash of cream. Morning, sweetheart, he said, kissing my cheek like he had 1,000 mornings before. His betrayal tasted like ashes in my mouth, but I smiled. Morning. I am meeting Susan for lunch today. The lie came easily. I needed time to think somewhere away from Robert's watchful eyes. Sounds nice. Do not forget we have that appointment Saturday with the estate planner. My blood ran cold. What appointment? I mentioned it last week, honey. Remember, Henry's passing means we should update our own documents. His voice was patient, like he was talking to a confused child. You said it was a good idea. Gaslighting me already. I wondered how many other conversations he had invented, how many times he had made me doubt my own memory. Right, of course. Saturday. After he left for his part-time consulting job, I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee and made a list not on paper where someone might find it in my head the way Uncle Henry had taught me when I was 10 and we would play detective games. 1. Find out exactly what Robert has access to. 2. Understand my legal rights. 3. Discover what else they have been hiding. 4. Protect myself without tipping them off. I started with our bedroom, feeling like a criminal in my own home. Robert's sock drawer yielded his passport, some cash, and a USB drive I had never seen before. My hands shook as I plugged it into my laptop. Files filled the screen. Bank statements in Michael's name showing transfers I never authorized. Property deeds with forged signatures. My signature dozens of times on documents I had never seen. He had been practicing getting the loops and curves just right. The scope of his deception made me dizzy. This was not a spontaneous plan born from greed over Henry's properties. This was years in the making. I photographed everything with my phone, uploaded it to a cloud account Robert did not know existed, and put the drive back exactly where I had found it. Next, I searched Lauren's purse. She had left it in the guest room yesterday, and women always kept their secrets in their purses. Credit card statements showed charges to online gambling sites thousands of dollars, and that was just last month. A business card for a loan shark with a Nevada phone number was tucked in the side pocket. So Lauren had debts. Robert had a forged document collection, and my inheritance had appeared like an answer to their prayers, a golden ticket they planned to steal. But did Michael know? My son, my baby boy, who used to bring me dandelions and call them sunshine flowers? I called him at work. Hey, Mom. His voice was warm, genuine. What is up? Just wanted to hear your voice. Are you and the kids free for lunch tomorrow, just us? Your dad mentioned you have been working such long hours. Always time for you. Meet you at Tony's Trattoria at noon. The relief that washed through me was physical. Michael did not know. Whatever poison Lauren had been brewing, she had kept it from my son. That afternoon, I drove to a different law office across town, one Robert would not know about. The attorney Karen Blake was around my age with sharp eyes and a firm handshake. Tell me everything, she said, and I did. When I finished, Karen was quiet for a long moment. Mrs. Carter, what your husband has done constitutes fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit elder abuse. You could have him arrested. Not yet. I surprised myself with how steady my voice was. I need to understand the full picture first. Can we protect my inheritance without alerting him? Karen smiled. And it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had dealt with men like Robert before and enjoyed watching them fall. Oh, we can do much better than that. Thursday lunch with Michael confirmed what I had hoped. He knew nothing about Lauren's gambling or Robert's plans. "Mom, you seem different," he said, studying my face across the table. "Not bad different, just sharper somehow. Your Uncle Henry's death has made me think about things about what matters." I reached across and squeezed his hand. "Michael, if someone you loved was in trouble, you would tell me, right?" His brow furrowed. "Of course. Is something wrong?" "Not yet." I smiled. "But promise me something. If your father or Lauren ask you to sign anything related to my inheritance, call me first. Do not sign anything without reading it carefully." "Mom, that is a weird thing to ask." "Promise me." He promised, confused but sincere. My boy, my good boy, who deserved better than the viper he had married. Friday evening, Robert suggested we have dinner at Michael and Lauren's house. Would not it be nice for all of us to be together, talk about the future? "Wonderful idea," I said, my smile as fake as his concern. "I will bring dessert." In the mirror, I practiced looking confused, forgetful, vulnerable, the kind of woman who would sign away her rights without question. The kind of woman Robert thought I was. But here is what Robert did not know about me. Uncle Henry had not just left me properties. He had left me his lessons too. All those detective games, all those discussions about thinking 3 moves ahead. Robert thought he was playing chess. He thought I was a pawn. He was about to learn I had been studying the board my whole life. Saturday morning, I woke up before dawn and lay there plotting. Robert snored beside me, peaceful as a baby, and I wondered what it said about a person that they could sleep so soundly while planning to destroy someone's life. The estate planning appointment was scheduled for 2 p.m. I had 6 hours. At 7, I slipped out of bed and drove to a copy shop 30 minutes away where nobody knew me. I printed everything from my secret cloud account. The forged signatures, the bank transfers, Lauren's gambling debts, all of it. 2 complete sets. One for Karen Blake, one for me, hidden somewhere Robert would never think to look. Where does a 68-year-old woman hide evidence in plain sight? That is where. I bought a binder and labeled it Recipes from Aunt Joan in my neat handwriting. Robert had not cooked a meal in 40 years. He would never open it. By 9:00 a.m., I was home making pancakes when Robert came downstairs. "Morning, beautiful. Big day ahead. I am looking forward to it." Liar, liar, pants on fire. "Want to know something funny? I found some old photos yesterday while cleaning. Remember our honeymoon in Boston?" His face softened. "The Prudential Tower skywalk. You were so scared going up in that elevator. You held my hand the whole time." I slid pancakes onto his plate. "Where did that man go, Robert?" For just a second, something flickered in his eyes. Guilt. Regret. Then it was gone, replaced by his comfortable mask. "I am right here, Evelyn. I have always been right here." I almost believed him. That is how good he was. At 2 p.m., we sat in Eric Nolan's office, an estate planning attorney Robert had chosen. Eric was young, ambitious, with a handshake that lasted 2 seconds too long. "So wonderful to meet you, Mrs. Carter. Robert's told me so much about you." He spread documents across his desk like playing cards. "We want to make sure everything is protected, especially now with your inheritance." "What exactly are we signing?" I asked, reaching for the papers. Robert's hand covered mine. "Do not worry, sweetheart. Eric will explain everything." "I would like to read them myself." I kept my voice pleasant but firm. "Uncle Henry always said, 'Never sign something you have not read 3 times. Eric and Robert exchanged glances. Of course, Eric said smoothly. Take all the time you need. These are fairly standard durable power of attorney healthcare proxy updated will. I read slowly, moving my finger under each word like my grandmother used to do. The documents looked legitimate at first glance, but Uncle Henry had taught me to read the fine print, the clauses hidden in legal language. There on page 4 of the power of attorney immediate and irrevocable transfer of authority over all assets, property, and financial decisions. Not if I became incapacitated. Immediate is in the second I signed. This seems very broad, I said carefully. What if I just wanted Robert to handle things if I got sick? This is the standard form, Eric assured me, but his smile had frozen, and I saw him glance at Robert again. Could you give us a moment? Robert asked Eric. Of course. Eric left his own office, which told me everything I needed to know about who was really in charge of this meeting. Robert took both my hands in his. Sweetheart, I know this seems scary, but we have been married 43 years. Do you not trust me? The question hung in the air between us. Did I trust the man who had forged my signature, who had planned to have me committed, who was trying to trick me into signing away my independence? Of course I trust you, I said, and watched relief flood his face. But Uncle Henry just died 2 months ago. I am grieving. Maybe we should wait a few weeks. Robert's jaw tightened. The inheritance needs to be protected now. If something happened to you before we got this sorted, what is going to happen to me in the next few weeks? I laughed, making it sound confused and slightly hurt. Robert, I am 68, not 97. Your uncle was 86 when he died. Unexpected things happen. Was that a threat? I looked at my husband and realized I did not know anymore. The man I had loved for 43 years was a stranger wearing a familiar face. I think I should talk to my own lawyer first, I said quietly. Robert's expression went cold. Your own lawyer. We have used Nolan and Pierce for 20 years. For our wills. Yes, but this is different. This is Uncle Henry's gift to me. I stood up, gathering my purse. I will call you next week, Eric. Thank you for your time. I walked out of that office with Robert calling after me, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. In the parking lot, he caught up with me. What the hell was that about? What was what about? I unlocked my car, embarrassing me in front of Eric, questioning everything. You have never acted like this before. I have never inherited $9.6 million before. I met his eyes. Robert, why are you so desperate for me to sign today? What is the rush? He stepped back like I had slapped him. I am trying to protect you, to protect us. But if you do not trust me anymore... I did not say that. You implied it. He shook his head. You know what, fine. Take your time. Talk to another lawyer. But Evelyn, his voice dropped low. Money changes people. I hope it does not change you. I drove away with my hands shaking so hard I had to pull over after 2 blocks. Money changes people, like it had changed him, like it had turned my husband into someone willing to forge documents and plot my imprisonment. My phone buzzed. Karen Blake. Call me as soon as you can. I called from the parking lot of a grocery store. What is wrong? Nothing is wrong. Everything is perfect. I filed your paperwork this morning. Your inheritance is now in an irrevocable trust with you as the sole beneficiary and trustee. Robert cannot touch it. Nobody can touch it. Not unless you choose to give them access. The relief was so intense, I had to rest my forehead against the steering wheel. Thank you. There is more. I did some checking on your husband, Evelyn. He has been planning this for a while. Want to know how I know? Tell me. He applied for your commitment to Maple Grove Care Center 6 weeks ago, before your Uncle Henry even died. The parking lot spun around me. What? The facility confirmed it. He told them you had several episodes of confusion and aggression, that you had become a danger to yourself. He filled out all the preliminary paperwork. Robert had been planning to lock me away before there was even money to steal, just to get rid of me to be free. Why? The word came out broken, choked. Karen was quiet for a moment. I think you should have someone look into your husband's activities, Evelyn. A private investigator. Someone discreet. Because men who plan this carefully usually have a reason. After hanging up, I sat in my car and watched ordinary people do their ordinary shopping. A young mother with 2 kids, an elderly couple walking hand in hand, people whose spouses were not trying to erase them from existence. My phone rang. Lauren. Evelyn? Her voice was honey and poison. Robert told me about the meeting. He is so upset. I think you hurt his feelings. I did not mean to. Of course you did not. You are just overwhelmed. Why do you not come over for dinner tonight, just family? We can all talk this through together. Together, meaning Robert, Lauren, and Michael. 3 against 1. Perfect conditions for them to convince me I was being paranoid, difficult, ungrateful. That sounds lovely, I said. What time? Because I had my own plans for this dinner, and they were about to learn that underestimating a woman was the biggest mistake they could make. I stopped at the electronics store on the way home and bought something I had never owned before, a small recording device disguised as a pen. The clerk, a teenager with purple hair, showed me how it worked. My mom uses one like this for her lectures, she said cheerfully. Super easy, just click the top. Perfect. I added a second one, just in case. At home, Robert was in his office door closed. I could hear him on the phone, voice low and intense. I pressed my ear against the door. Needs to sign by Monday. Eric says we cannot wait any longer. Once she starts talking to other lawyers, we are screwed. No. Michael does not suspect anything. Look, if she will not cooperate, we will have to accelerate the commitment timeline. I pulled away, bile rising in my throat. Monday. I had 3 days. I spent the afternoon in my sewing room, the one place Robert never entered, planning my next moves like Uncle Henry had taught me. Think 3 steps ahead. Anticipate your opponent's moves. Never show your hand until you are ready to play. Step 1, document everything at tonight's dinner. Step 2, find out what Robert is hiding. Karen was right. There was more to this story. Step 3, protect Michael and the grandkids. Whatever explosion was coming, they should not be caught in the fallout. At 5:30, I dressed carefully for dinner. Not too nice, not too casual. The same blue cardigan Michael had given me for Christmas, the pearl earrings Robert bought me for our 30th anniversary. I looked exactly like what I was supposed to be, a trusting wife and mother. The recording pen went in my purse. Robert drove us to Michael and Lauren's house, his jaw tight with tension. Just be reasonable tonight, Evelyn. That is all I ask. I am always reasonable. I patted his hand, and he flinched slightly. Good. Let him wonder what I was thinking. Michael opened the door, my grandchildren Haley and Logan bouncing around his legs. Grandma. Logan launched himself at me, and I caught him breathing in his little boy smell of grass and sunshine. Hey, sweet boy, where is your sister Haley? Grandma is here, he yelled toward the stairs. My 12-year-old granddaughter appeared, all long legs and self-consciousness, trying to act too cool for hugs, but failing. I held her tight, memorizing this moment. Whatever happened, I would make sure these kids were protected. Kids, go wash up for dinner, Lauren called from the kitchen. She emerged wearing an apron, playing the perfect hostess. Evelyn, you look lovely. Come help me with the salad. In the kitchen, I activated the recording pin as Lauren handed me a knife and cutting board. I want to apologize for any tension, I said carefully. Robert thinks I do not trust him. Do you? Lauren's question was sharp direct. I do not know anymore. The truth surprised me as much as it did her. Everything feels different since Uncle Henry died. Money does that. She was chopping cucumbers with aggressive precision. It changes all the relationships, makes people suspicious. Is that what you think? I am being suspicious? She set down the knife and turned to face me. I think you have been handed an incredible opportunity, and you are too afraid to do anything with it. Those properties, Evelyn, do you know what they are worth? Do you understand what you could build? I am 68 years old. What am I going to build? A legacy, security for your grandchildren, a future that does not depend on Social Security and Robert's pension. Her eyes gleamed with something hungry. But you need help. You need someone who understands investments, property management, financial planning. Someone like you, someone like family. She smiled. Robert told me you are worried about the power of attorney. I get it. It seems scary, but think about it this way. If something happened to you tomorrow, who would protect your interests? Who would make sure those properties did not get absorbed by the state or tied up in probate for years? Why would something happen to me tomorrow? Accidents happen. Evelyn, look at your uncle. 86 years old, healthy as a horse. Then one day, he just does not wake up. That could be any of us. The threat was subtle but unmistakable. I kept chopping tomatoes, my heart pounding. You are right. I should be more prepared. Exactly. Lauren squeezed my shoulder, her grip just a little too tight. Family takes care of family. That is what Robert has been trying to tell you. At dinner, Robert made a toast. To family, to Evelyn's incredible inheritance, and to making sure we are all protected and prepared for the future. Hear, hear. Lauren raised her glass. Michael looked uncomfortable. Dad, maybe we should not pressure Mom right now. Uncle Henry just died. She is grieving. I am not pressuring her. Robert's smile was tight. I am being practical. Right, Evelyn? Right? I sipped my wine, watching them all watch me. Haley and Logan were arguing about soccer practice, oblivious to the adult undercurrents. Michael kept glancing between his wife and his father, sensing something wrong, but unable to name it. After dessert, Lauren suggested the kids go upstairs to do homework. Once they were gone, Robert pulled out papers from his briefcase. I took the liberty of having Nolan draft simpler documents, nothing scary, just basics. Dad, Michael started. Michael, this is between your mother and me. Robert's voice had steel in it. Actually, I said quietly, it involves all of us. These properties will eventually be Michael's inheritance. Should not he be part of this conversation? Robert's face went red. Do not twist this, Evelyn. Do not make me the villain for trying to protect what is ours. It is not ours, though, is it, Robert? I set down my fork with perfect calm. Uncle Henry left those properties to me. Specifically, to me, not to us. Not to the family, to me. The silence was deafening. Of course, to you. Lauren jumped in her voice, soothing. But you are married. In a marriage, everything is shared. Not in Massachusetts. Massachusetts is an equitable distribution state, not a community property state. What I inherit is separate property unless I choose to commingle it. I smiled at their shocked faces. I have been reading up. Robert stood abruptly, his chair scraping against hardwood. Since when do you read legal statutes? Since when do you question everything I say? Since I found your USB drive. The words came out before I could stop them. Every face turned white. What USB drive? Michael asked slowly. Nothing, Robert said quickly. Your mother is confused. I am not confused. I am very clear. I stood up, my legs steadier than I expected. The drive with the forged signatures, the transfers to Michael's account, that he did not authorize the practice documents where you have been perfecting my handwriting. Mom! Michael's voice cracked. What is she talking about, Dad? Robert and Lauren exchanged panicked glances. This was not part of their script. I was not supposed to know. I was supposed to be the confused, malleable old woman. I think, I said quietly, that I will be going home now. Michael, why do you not walk me to my car? I will drive you, Robert said tersely. No. The word came out harder than I intended. Michael will walk me. You will stay here and explain to our son why you have been forging his mother's signature. I walked out of that house with my head high and my grandson's goodnight kiss still warm on my cheek. Michael followed me to the driveway, his face stricken. Mom, I swear to God, I do not know anything about forged signatures or transfers. I know you do not, sweetheart. I cupped his face in both hands. You are my good boy. You always have been. But your wife and your father, they have been planning something for a long time. And I need you to decide whose side you are on. Your side. Always your side. Even if it means your marriage might not survive. He was quiet for a long moment. Then what did they do? Mom, meet me for breakfast tomorrow. Tony's Trattoria, 8:00 a.m. Come alone. And Michael, I squeezed his hands. Do not tell Lauren where you are going. I drove home through dark streets, my recording pen full of threats and lies, my heart full of purpose. Robert would be furious when he got home. There might be yelling accusations, maybe worse, but for the first time in months, I was not scared. I was ready. Robert came home at midnight, and I was waiting, not cowering in bed like he probably expected, but sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of chamomile tea and my grandmother's knitting perfectly calm. We need to talk. He loomed in the doorway, trying to intimidate me with his size and his anger. Yes, we do. I did not look up from my knitting. Click, click, click went the needles. But not tonight. I am tired. Tired? You humiliate me in front of our son, accuse me of forgery, and now you are tired. Robert, it is late. We are both emotional. Let us discuss this in the morning when we have both calmed down. Click, click, click. Stop doing that. He grabbed the knitting from my hands and threw it across the room. I looked at him, then really looked, and I did not see my husband anymore. I saw a stranger, a dangerous one. That was my grandmother's work. Pick it up. Or what? He leaned down, his face inches from mine. What are you going to do? Evelyn? Leave me after 43 years? Where would you go? Who would want you? A 68-year-old woman with no job, no skills, no life outside this house? Every word was designed to wound, to remind me of my dependence, my vulnerability. A month ago, it would have worked. A month ago, I would have apologized, backed down, made myself smaller. I would go to one of the 4 apartment buildings I own, I said calmly. Or maybe the beach house. I hear Cape Haven is lovely this time of year. He grabbed my wrist, his fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. Those properties are community assets. You cannot just... They are not... I interrupted. I checked. Massachusetts law is very clear about inherited property. I pulled my wrist free and stood up facing him. And if you ever grab me like that again, I will call the police. For a moment, I thought he might hit me. His fist clenched. His face went purple with rage. Then he turned and walked out, slamming the bedroom door so hard the pictures on the wall rattled. I sat back down, picked up my grandmother's knitting from where it had fallen, and finished my tea. My hands only shook a little. At 7:55 a.m., I was at Tony's trattoria. Michael arrived at 8 on the dot, looking like he had not slept. He slid into the booth across from me and said without preamble, "Lauren has $200,000 in gambling debt." "I know. She has been using my business account to pay some of it off. I just found out last night after you left. We had a fight that lasted until 4 a.m. "I am sorry, sweetheart." "Do not be. I am the idiot who did not notice." He rubbed his face with both hands. "She said Dad promised her access to your money to pay off the debts, said it was a family investment. But Mom, I never authorized any transfers to my accounts. If there are documents with my signature, they are forgeries. I have photos." He was quiet for a long moment. "What are we going to do?" Not what was I going to do. What were we going to do? My son, my ally. I reached across the table and gripped his hand. "I am going to do something crazy." "How crazy?" "I am going to throw a party." Michael blinked. "A party, a big one. Announce my inheritance properly. Celebrate Uncle Henry's life. Invite all our friends and family." I smiled at his confusion. "Your father thinks I am weak. He thinks I will cave under pressure, so I am going to give him what he wants. I do not understand." "Good. Neither will he. That is the point." I spent the next 3 days planning the party and watching Robert watch me. He was waiting for something. I could tell. Waiting for me to break to apologize, to come crawling back to ask what I should do with Uncle Henry's complicated legacy. Instead, I sent out invitations to 30 people. I ordered catering. I bought a new dress, royal blue, with a V-neck that made me look powerful instead of old. I hired a bartender and a server. Robert could not figure out what game I was playing. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. Wednesday evening, watching me address envelopes at the dining room table, Uncle Henry would have wanted a proper memorial, a celebration of life. I looked up at him with wide, innocent eyes. "Do you not think so? With 30 people and catering, that is going to cost a fortune? I can afford it now." I smiled sweetly. "That is the point of inheriting money, is it not? To be able to do nice things." He could not argue with that logic, but I could see the wheels turning in his head. He thought this was my breakdown, me spending money, recklessly proving I could not handle the responsibility. Perfect justification for taking control. Let him think that. Saturday night, our house was full of people. Friends from church, neighbors, Roberts, golf buddies, my book club ladies, Michael and his family, even Linda Morrison, my attorney, whom everyone assumed was just a family friend. Robert worked the room like a politician, telling everyone about my inheritance, playing the proud husband. My Evelyn has come into some property, he boasted. 4 apartment buildings downtown and a beautiful beach house. I keep telling her we should start planning vacations. 4 buildings. Marjorie from book club whistled. "Evelyn, you are a real estate mogul. Just lucky." I raised my glass. Uncle Henry was generous. Lauren was charm personified, helping serve appetizers, making conversation. Only Michael saw through her performance. He kept close to me all evening, a silent protector. At 9:30 p.m., I clinked my glass for attention. "Thank you all for coming." I wanted to share some exciting news. I could feel Robert's anticipation, his assumption that I was about to announce I was signing the properties over to family management. Lauren actually licked her lips. "I am going on a trip," I announced, "for 2 whole weeks. I am going to visit all of Uncle Henry's properties, meet the tenants, understand what he built, really get to know my inheritance." The room erupted in congratulations and questions. Where would I stay? Was I taking anyone with me? 2 weeks alone. Was I scared? I will be fine. I have booked hotels, rented a car, made appointments with the property managers. It is all arranged." I smiled at Robert's frozen expression. "I leave Monday morning." After everyone left, Robert cornered me in the kitchen. "You cannot be serious. 2 weeks alone, you have not traveled by yourself in 40 years. "Then it is time I started." I loaded glasses into the dishwasher, not looking at him. "Evelyn, I forbid it." I stopped loading and turned to face him. "You forbid it? I am not your child, Robert. I am your wife, and I am going." "What about us? What about working on our relationship?" "You mean because you tried to steal my inheritance?" The words hung in the air between us, sharp and undeniable. "Because you forged documents. Because you planned to have me committed. Did you really think I would not find out?" His face went through several expressions: shock, denial, anger, finally settling on something like resignation. "Everything I did was to protect us. To protect you from making mistakes. Mistakes like keeping my own property, maintaining my independence. You are not independent. You have not worked in 35 years. You do not understand money investments, legal matters. You need guidance." From someone who has been practicing forging my signature, I finished loading the dishwasher and closed it with a decisive click. "I am leaving Monday. When I get back, we will talk about what happens next. But Robert," I looked him straight in the eye, "the days of you making decisions for me are over." I walked upstairs, locked the bedroom door, and packed my suitcase. Behind me, I could hear Robert pacing in the hallway, muttering to himself. Sunday morning, I went to church alone, sat in our usual pew, and prayed for the first time in months. Not for forgiveness, not for guidance. I prayed for strength to do what needed to be done. Karen Blake texted me during the service. "Investigator has news. Urgent. Call me." I called from the church parking lot. "What did you find?" "Your husband has a storage unit you do not know about. In it, he has detailed financial records of your uncle's properties documents showing he was tracking Henry's health for the past year." She paused. "Evelyn, he has brochures from 3 different nursing homes, all dated from before Henry died." My hands went numb. He had been planning this for over a year at least. "The investigator also found something else: regular payments to a woman named Amber Lewis. The $1,800 a month for the past 3 years. I will send you her address. She is in Boston." I drove home in a daze. $65,000 in 3 years for what a mistress blackmail, another secret I did not know about. When I got home, Robert was in his office again, door closed. I packed the last of my things, hid Karen's folder deeper in my recipe binder, and went to bed early. Monday morning, I left at dawn while Robert was still sleeping. I did not leave a note. I just drove away from my house, my husband, my old life, with my suitcase in the trunk and no idea what I would find. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty: I was not coming back the same woman who left. The drive to Boston took me through familiar highways that felt brand new. Had the mountains always been this beautiful? Had the sky always been this huge? I called Michael from the road. "I am on my way. Do not tell anyone where I am going." "Be safe, Mom. Call me if you need anything." My first stop was the apartment buildings. 4 brick structures in downtown Boston, built in the 1920s, beautifully maintained. The property manager, a cheerful woman named Denise Walker, gave me a tour. "Your uncle was a wonderful landlord," she said, showing me tenant files. "He kept rents reasonable, maintained everything promptly. People lived here for decades." I walked through the buildings, met tenants, saw the care Uncle Henry had put into these places. He had built something real, something that mattered. "Mrs. Carter," Denise said, handing me a folder. "Henry left this for you. Said to give it to you when you came in person." Inside was a letter in his familiar handwriting. "Evelyn, if you are reading this, I am gone, and you are probably confused. Your husband has been asking questions about my properties for the past 2 years. wanting to know their value, their potential, if I would consider selling. When I told him they would be yours someday, he became very interested in my health. Started suggesting I needed better medical care, perhaps a facility. It worried me. Made me wonder what he might do if you suddenly came into money. So I structured things to protect you. The trust, the properties, all of it, is designed to be yours alone. Do not let anyone take it from you. You are stronger than you know. Much stronger than Robert ever gave you credit for. Live your life, kiddo. The one you should have had. Love, Uncle H. I cried in Denise's office for 20 minutes. She brought me tissue and coffee and did not ask questions. That night, in a hotel room overlooking the city, I called the investigator directly. Tell me about Amber Lewis. I can do better than tell you. I can show you. He sent photos to my phone. They showed Robert with a woman who looked nothing like me, younger blonde, laughing. Photos of them at restaurants holding hands entering her apartment together. The timestamps went back 5 years. 5 years of lies. 5 years of him coming home to me and pretending. 5 years of I love yous and good morning kisses and lying beside me at night after spending the afternoon with her. I should have been devastated. Instead, I felt nothing. Just cold, clear rage. I called Karen Blake. I want a divorce. I will have papers drawn up, she said. But Evelyn, there is more you should know about Amber. What more could there be? She is not his mistress. She is his business partner. They have been buying properties together using forged documents to secure loans against your assets. The $1,800 a month, that is his share of the profits from their flips. He has been using your credit, your signature, your financial reputation to build a real estate empire you did not know about. The room spun. How much? 6 properties, $3.5 million in loans, all of it technically in your name, because he forged documents making you a cosigner. If any of it goes bad, you are liable. Not devastated anymore. Furious. I had spent 43 years being faithful, being supportive, being the good wife, while Robert built a whole secret life. Can we prosecute? Oh yes. Fraud, forgery, identity theft. He could go to prison. Do it. I spent the rest of the week touring my other properties, making plans. The Nantucket beach house was perfect, exactly as I remembered from visits as a child. Weathered wood, huge windows, the ocean close enough to hear. I could live here. Start over. Be myself instead of Robert's wife. Thursday afternoon, Michael called. Mom, Dad's freaking out. He drove to Boston looking for you. The hotel said you checked out yesterday. I am at the beach house. I am fine. He is saying you have lost your mind, that you are having some kind of breakdown. Lauren's backing him up, telling everyone you need help. Of course she is. Michael, I need you to do something for me. Can you access your father's office, his computer? Why? Trust me. An hour later, Michael called back. Mom, there are files here, business plans, property records, and they are all in your name. But I have never seen any of this before. Photograph everything. Upload it to the cloud. Then lock his office and do not say anything. What is all this evidence? I looked out at the ocean, watching waves crash against the shore. Your father has been living a double life, Mikhail, and it is about to catch up with him. Friday morning, a registered letter arrived at the beach house. Karen's firm had found me. Inside were divorce papers, fraud charges, and a restraining order against Robert. Also inside were photos the investigator had taken just that morning. Robert and Amber at a bank trying to secure another loan using more forged documents. He did not even stop when I left. He escalated. I called Karen. Serve him today, publicly. I want everyone to see. Are you sure this will be ugly? Good. I am done protecting his reputation. I stayed at the Nantucket beach house all weekend, walking on the sand, thinking about Uncle Henry's letter, the life I should have had. I had given up architecture school to marry Robert, given up my dreams to support his career, given up myself piece by piece until I forgot who I was. Not anymore. Monday morning, I drove back to Boston, not home to Michael's house. He answered the door looking exhausted. Dad's been calling nonstop. The papers were served Saturday at his golf club in front of everyone. Good, Mom. He is telling people you are sick. Lauren's supporting him. They are trying to build a case that you are incompetent. I smiled. Let them try. I have recordings of them planning to steal my inheritance. I have evidence of his fraud. I have 5 years of proof that he has been lying to me. Let them try to prove I am incompetent. Michael laughed, surprised. You are scary when you are angry. I am not angry, sweetheart. I am done being afraid. That week I stayed with Michael. Lauren moved out back to her parents' house. The evidence of her gambling debts and her partnership with Robert in their schemes was overwhelming. I am filing for divorce too, Michael told me Wednesday evening. I cannot believe I did not see what she was. Love blinds us. I hugged him tight. But we see clearly now. Thursday. Robert called my cell phone. I almost did not answer. Then I realized I wanted to hear what he had to say. Evelyn, please. We can work this out. There is nothing to work out. Robert, you forged my signature. You stole my identity. You planned to have me committed. You had a partner in real estate fraud. For 5 years you lied to me every single day. Amber means nothing. The business was just a way to secure our future. Your future, not ours. You were planning to leave me once you had enough money. The nursing home was not about control. It was about getting rid of me so you could be free. His silence confirmed everything. Here is what is going to happen, I continued. You are going to face fraud charges. I am going to divorce you and take everything that is legally mine. You will be lucky if you do not go to prison. After 43 years, this is how you treat me. After 43 years of devotion, this is how you treated me. I hung up. Friday afternoon, I got a call from a number I did not recognize. Mrs. Carter, this is Amber Lewis. I almost hung up. Then curiosity won. What do you want to apologize? I did not know about the forged documents. Robert told me we were partners, that you knew about everything. When the investigator showed me the truth. Her voice broke. I am cooperating with the prosecutor. I will testify about everything Robert did. The forgeries, the schemes, all of it. Why should I believe you? Because he did the same thing to me that he did to you. Made me think I was special. That we were building something together. Then I found out I am the 4th woman he has pulled this scheme with. 4th woman, 4th life he had tried to steal. I thanked her and hung up. Not angry anymore, just tired. Tired of Robert, of lies, of discovering new betrayals every day. That night, Michael and I sat on his back porch with wine and Chinese food. What happens now? He asked. Now I live my life, really live it. Uncle Henry left me more than property. He left me a second chance. I am proud of you, Mom. I looked at my son, my good son, who had stood by me when everything fell apart. I am proud of us both. We survived. That is enough. But I knew it was not just survival. It was the beginning of something new, something better. And Robert would learn what happens when you underestimate a woman who has finally learned her worth. The DNA results arrived on a Tuesday morning while I was replacing a broken garbage disposal in Building 3. Daniel called, his voice hollow. She is mine. Chloe is mine. I sat down on the tenant's kitchen floor wrench, still in hand. Thank God Mason is not. The words came out strangled. My son, the kid I have been raising for 3 years, he is Robert's. The wrench slipped from my fingers, clattering on the tile. Robert had a child with Lauren. My husband had created a child with my daughter-in-law while I had been babysitting them both. Completely oblivious. Daniel, I am so sorry. Lauren's lawyer called this morning. She wants full custody of Mason. Says I have no legal rights since I am not the biological father. He was crying now, harsh, broken sobs that cut through me. Mom, I love that little boy. He calls me Daddy. How do I explain to a 3-year-old that I am not really his father? You are his father. Biology does not change 3 years of love. Tell that to the family court system. After we hung up, I sat in that stranger's kitchen and thought about the cascading destruction Robert had caused. Not just stealing, not just fraud, but destroying his own son's family. Creating a child he had never intended to claim, using everyone around him as props in his desperate scramble to save himself. That afternoon, I called my property manager friend, the one Grace Lee had introduced me to. Denise, I need advice on something that is not about buildings. Shoot. If someone wanted to hurt me financially, really hurt me, what is my biggest vulnerability right now? Denise was quiet for a moment. Your tenants. If someone convinced them you were unstable or unreliable, you could face a mass exodus. New property owners always face skepticism. Add in rumors of mental incompetence and you would have a disaster. My blood ran cold. That is what I was afraid of. Why is someone targeting you? My ex-husband is desperate and angry, and he knows exactly where to strike. The first sign came 2 days later. Mrs. Lopez in Building 1 called, apologetic but firm. Mrs. Carter, I am sorry, but we have decided not to renew our lease next month. My husband found us a place closer to his work. Mrs. Lopez had been a tenant for 8 years. She had told me just last month how much she loved the building. Then Mr. Ramirez from Building 2 called. My daughter thinks we should move. She is worried about the new management. By Friday, I had received 5 non-renewal notices. All long-term tenants. All suddenly finding reasons to leave. I drove to Building 1 and knocked on Mrs. Lopez's door. She opened it cautiously, and I saw fear in her eyes. Mrs. Lopez, please be honest with me. Did someone contact you about me? She glanced behind her nervously. A man came by, said he was your husband, that you were having memory issues, that the buildings might not be properly maintained anymore. Did he offer you money to leave first month's rent free at a new place? He said he was trying to protect us from a bad situation. I thanked her and went to each building knocking on doors. The story was the same. Robert had visited every tenant who had given notice, spinning tales of my incompetence, offering incentives to leave, trying to tank my rental income and force me to sell at a loss. That evening, I called a tenant meeting at Building 1's community room. 20 people showed up, curiosity overriding caution. I stood at the front, hands shaking, but voice steady. My name is Evelyn Carter. Some of you have met a man claiming to be my concerned husband. I want you to know the truth. I told them everything. The inheritance, the fraud, the separation, the affair. I showed them Dr. Kevin Nguyen's evaluation proving my competence. I explained that Robert was trying to destroy me financially because I had refused to be his victim. I understand if you want to leave, I finished. I am new to this. I will make mistakes, but I promise you this. I will be honest. I will be fair. And I will take care of these buildings the way my Uncle Henry did for decades. You have my word. Mrs. Lopez stood up. My husband and I will be staying. We have lived here 8 years under Mr. Brooks, and we trust his judgment. If he left these buildings to you, that is good enough for us. One by one, others stood. Not everyone 3 tenants still left, but 15 stayed, and 2 told me they would spread the word that I was legitimate. Walking back to my car, I felt something shift inside me. Not just anger anymore. Strategy. Robert wanted to play dirty. I could play smarter. The next morning, I filed for a restraining order. Scott Turner helped me compile evidence: the tenant visits, the harassment at the Nantucket house, the ongoing attempts to sabotage my business. The judge granted it immediately. Mr. Carter is to stay 500 feet from you, your properties, and your tenants, Judge Elaine Porter said. Violation will result in arrest. I left the courthouse feeling like I had won a battle, not realizing the war was just beginning. That afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost did not answer. Mrs. Carter, this is Detective Julia Grant with Boston PD. We need to talk about your husband. My stomach dropped. What about him? He has filed a police report claiming you have stolen $4 million in assets that rightfully belong to the marital estate. We need you to come down to the station. I sat in my car, hand gripping the phone. Of course. When restraining orders did not work, Robert escalated. If he could not harass me directly, he would use the legal system to do it for him. I will be there in an hour, I said, with my attorney. Scott met me at the station, briefcase in hand. Do not say anything without me present. Detective Grant was younger than I expected, maybe 35, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She led us to an interrogation room, and I felt like a criminal, even though I had done nothing wrong. Mrs. Carter, your husband claims you have hidden assets and committed fraud to deprive him of his share of the marital estate. Scott slid a folder across the table. Mrs. Carter inherited property through an irrevocable trust established before her marriage. It is not marital property. Here is the documentation. Detective Grant reviewed the papers, her expression neutral. And the fraud allegations. Mr. Carter is the one who committed fraud, Scott said calmly. We have documented evidence of forged power of attorney conspiracy to commit elder financial abuse and ongoing harassment. Would you like to see it? The detective's eyebrows rose. I think I would. 2 hours later, I walked out of the police station with Detective Grant's card and a promise that she would be looking into Mr. Carter's claims more thoroughly. In the parking lot, Scott put a hand on my shoulder. This is going to get uglier before it gets better. I know, I said. But what I did not say was that I was ready. Robert had started this war thinking I would surrender. He had forgotten that I had survived 64 years of life, raised a son, buried my parents, and rebuilt myself from nothing. I was not the same woman he had married, and he was about to find out exactly how much he had underestimated me. The property management course started on Monday. I had enrolled in an intensive 8-week program that met 3 evenings a week, taught by a retired real estate investor named Alan Peters. The classroom was in a Bayview Community College building, and I felt ridiculously out of place among the younger students. Most of you are here to break into property management as a career, Alan said during the first session. Anyone here actually own property? I raised my hand along with 2 others. How many units? 52, I said. The room went silent. Even Alan looked surprised. Well, then looks like we have a serious investor in the room. During the break, 3 students approached me. One was a young woman named Megan Foster, maybe 30, with intelligent eyes and a firm handshake. Mrs. Carter, I am graduating with my property management certification next month. If you are looking for help managing 52 units, I would love to interview. I studied her, confident but not cocky, eager but professional. Send me your RSUM. By the end of the first week, I had learned more about tenant law maintenance protocols and financial management than I had thought possible. I started implementing systems in my building's online rent payment, digital maintenance requests, quarterly inspections. The work was exhausting but satisfying. For the first time in my adult life, I was building something that was entirely mine. Daniel called Thursday evening. "Mom, I need a favor. A big one." "What is wrong?" "Lauren's lawyer filed an emergency custody hearing. She is claiming I am unstable and unsafe around Mason. They are trying to get sole custody and supervised visitation only for me." "On what grounds?" "Robert gave them a statement. Said I have been violent aggressive, that he is afraid for his grandson's safety." Daniel's voice was tight with rage. "He is lying, Mom. He is lying to take Mason away from me. We will fight this. I will testify. I will hire the best family law attorney in Boston. It is next Tuesday. Can you be there? Wild horses could not keep me away." The custody hearing was in a small courtroom that smelled like old carpet and stale coffee. Lauren sat with her attorney looking pale but determined. Robert sat in the back row, his presence like a dark cloud. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Elaine Porter. She reviewed the paperwork with a frown. "Ms. Carter, you are asking for sole custody of a 3-year-old boy claiming the father who has raised him since birth is suddenly dangerous. These are serious allegations." Lauren's attorney stood. "Your Honor, we have testimony from the child's biological grandfather expressing concern about Mr. Daniel Carter's recent behavior erratic decisions, financial instability, anger management issues." "Call your witness," Judge Porter said. Robert took the stand, and I watched my ex-husband lie under oath. He described Daniel as increasingly unstable, claimed he had witnessed violent outbursts, suggested that the stress of learning about Mason's paternity had triggered something dangerous. It was all fiction, carefully crafted fiction designed to destroy our son. When it was Daniel's turn, his attorney called me to the stand. "Mrs. Carter, you are Daniel's mother. How would you describe his relationship with Mason?" "Mason is the center of Daniel's world. He coaches his t-ball team, reads to him every night, takes him to the park every Saturday morning." The biological test results were devastating for Daniel, but they did not change his love for that little boy. "And Mr. Robert Carter's testimony about Daniel's instability?" I looked directly at Robert. "Robert Carter is a liar. He has been lying for years. He had an affair with his daughter-in-law, fathered a child with her, and is now weaponizing that child to punish our son for supporting me. Every word he said on this stand is designed to hurt Daniel, not protect Mason." Lauren's attorney objected, but Judge Porter held up her hand. "I want to hear this. Continue, Mrs. Carter." I told the judge everything: the fraud, the affair, the restraining order, the police report. I watched Robert's face turn red, watched Lauren sink lower in her chair. "Your Honor," I finished, "Robert Carter is using this child as a weapon. He does not care about Mason's well-being. He cares about punishing me and Daniel for refusing to be his victims." Judge Porter was silent for a long moment. "Mr. Carter, please approach the bench." Robert stood, confident swagger in place. The judge's next words wiped it away. "Mr. Carter, I have been a family court judge for 23 years. I have seen many things, but using a child as ammunition in an adult vendetta is perhaps the most despicable. I am ordering an immediate investigation into allegations of fraud and perjury. Bailiff, please escort Mr. Carter out of my courtroom." The bailiff moved toward Robert, and the swagger disappeared. "Your Honor, I have a right to." "You have the right to remain silent." Judge Porter interrupted. "I suggest you exercise it." As they removed Robert from the courtroom, Judge Porter turned to Lauren. "Mrs. Carter's sole custody is denied. Joint custody will remain in place pending investigation of these allegations. If I find that you knowingly used fraudulent testimony to deprive Mr. Daniel Carter of his parental rights, you will face consequences. Do you understand?" Lauren nodded, tears streaming down her face. Outside the courthouse, Daniel pulled me into a fierce hug. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you." "That is what mothers do," I said. We protect our children even from their fathers. But as we walked to our cars, I could not shake the feeling that Robert was not done. Cornered animals were the most dangerous, and I had just backed him into a very tight corner. That night, back at the Nantucket beach house, I poured myself a glass of wine and stood on the porch watching the waves. My phone rang. "Mrs. Carter, this is Detective Julia Grant. I thought you should know we have opened a formal investigation into Robert Carter. Based on the evidence you provided and the incident in family court today, we are looking at charges of fraud, perjury, and conspiracy." "Will he go to prison?" "If we can prove everything possibly. These are serious charges." After she hung up, I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt exhausted. This was not what I had wanted. I had wanted a quiet retirement, maybe some travel time with my grandchildren. Instead, I had gotten war. But I had also gotten something else, the knowledge that I was strong enough to fight, that I did not need Robert or anyone else to protect me, that at 68, I was just beginning to understand who Evelyn Carter really was, and she was formidable. The police investigation moved faster than I expected. Detective Grant called me in twice more, each time asking detailed questions about the forged documents, the tenant harassment, and Robert's behavior at the Nantucket house. "We are building a strong case," she told me after the second interview. "But I need to warn you, he is getting desperate. Desperate people do unpredictable things." I increased security at all 4 buildings, installed cameras, changed locks, hired a night patrol service. At the Nantucket house, I added motion sensor lights and a security system that connected directly to local police. Megan started working for me 3 days a week, handling tenant communications and maintenance scheduling. She was efficient, professional, and asked smart questions. Having help lifted an enormous weight. "Mrs. Carter," she said one afternoon, clipboard in hand, "these properties are going to be a model for independent ownership. You should be proud." "Mrs. Carter," Megan said one afternoon while reviewing maintenance requests, "these buildings are in excellent shape. Your uncle really knew what he was doing. He taught himself everything from books and experience, never even finished high school." "That is impressive. Most property owners with this many units have professional management." "I am learning." I pulled up the financial spreadsheets I had been maintaining. "But there is so much I do not know." "You are doing great for someone who inherited these 2 months ago." Megan paused. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Why do this yourself? You could hire a management company, collect the checks, and never worry about broken water heaters at 2 a.m. I thought about that. Because Uncle Henry built this with his own hands, his own knowledge. If I just handed it off to strangers, I would be losing the last connection to him. This is his legacy. I want to honor it by understanding it." Megan smiled. "He chose the right person to leave it to." That Saturday, I drove to Boston to have lunch with Daniel. We met at a diner near his house, neutral territory, where we could talk without the weight of family history pressing down. "How is Mason?" I asked. "He keeps asking why he cannot see Grandpa Robert anymore." Daniel stirred his coffee absently. "How do I explain that his grandfather is a monster without making him feel like he is connected to something bad? You do not. He is 3. You just love him and protect him and let him figure out the complicated stuff when he is older." The DNA results changed everything and nothing. I look at him and I still see my son, but now I also see Robert. His expressions, his laugh. It is like Robert infected my family in the most permanent way possible. I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "Mason is innocent in all this. Do not let Robert's actions poison your relationship with that little boy." "I know. I am trying." He met my eyes. "How are you?" "Really tired, angry, determined, terrified. Take your pick." "Do you regret it, fighting back instead of just letting Robert have what he wanted?" I considered the question. 4 months ago, I would have rolled over, given him everything to keep the peace. But Uncle Henry gave me more than property. He gave me permission to be strong, to fight for myself. No, I do not regret it, even when it is hard. My phone buzzed. Scott Turner. I answered immediately. Evelyn Roberts' attorney just filed a countersuit. He is claiming you defamed him in court and is seeking $2 million in damages. I closed my eyes. Of course he is. It is a nuisance suit. It will not go anywhere, but it is going to tie up time and resources. After I hung up, Daniel was watching me with concern. More legal problems. Robert's suing me for defamation. Apparently telling the truth in court counts as damaging his reputation. This is insane. When does it end? When one of us breaks. I gathered my purse. And it is not going to be me. But driving back to Nantucket, I felt the weight of the constant battle pressing down. Every time I took a step forward, Robert found a new way to drag me back. The legal fees were mounting. The emotional toll was exhausting. How long could I keep this up? At the beach house, I found something that made my blood run cold. Someone had spray painted a message on my garage door. Thief. I called the police immediately. They came, took photos, dusted for fingerprints. The investigating officer was sympathetic, but not optimistic. With the restraining order, if it was your ex-husband, he violated it. But we would need proof. Do your cameras cover this angle? They did not. I had focused on the doors and windows, not the garage. That night, I could not sleep. Every sound made me jump. The house that had felt like sanctuary now felt violated. Unsafe. At 2 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost did not answer. Evelyn? Robert's voice was slurred, drunk. You think you have won. You think you destroyed me. But I still have cards to play. This call violates the restraining order. Sue me. Add it to the list. He laughed bitterly. You know what is funny? I actually loved you once. Really loved you. But you were never enough. Never exciting enough. Never ambitious enough. Just safe. Boring. The words should have hurt. Instead, they clarified everything. Robert, I do not care if you loved me or not. I do not care what you think of me. I just want you out of my life. Too bad. We are connected forever now. Through Daniel, through Mason. You cannot escape me, Evelyn. I will always be there in the background, reminding you that you are not as strong as you think you are. I hung up and immediately forwarded the recording to Detective Julia Grant and Scott Turner. Let him threaten me. Every threat was more evidence, more ammunition. But lying in bed afterward, I could not stop shaking. This was not just about money anymore. Robert wanted to destroy me completely, and I was not sure I had the strength to keep fighting. The next morning, Nancy called. I am coming to visit. Do not argue. I am already at the airport. She arrived that afternoon, took one look at my face, and pulled me into a hug. You look like hell, Eve. I feel like hell. We walked on the beach, and I told her everything, the vandalism, the lawsuit, the phone call. Nancy listened without interrupting, her jaw getting tighter with each revelation. You need to end this, Nancy finally said. Not by giving up by going on a fence. What do you mean, stop reacting to Robert Carter's attacks and start attacking back? Find his weakness and hit it hard. I do not know what his weakness is. Nancy stopped walking and looked at me. Yes, you do. His ego, his reputation, his belief that he is smarter than everyone. Use that. She was right. Robert Carter's entire identity was built on being the successful consultant, the respected businessman, the charming manipulator. What if I exposed all of it? I need to make some calls, I said. Walking back to the house with my sister beside me, I felt something shift. Nancy was right. I had been playing defense, trying to protect what was mine. But defense only got you so far. It was time to play offense, and Robert Carter was about to discover that Evelyn Carter was done being anyone's victim. The plan came together over the next week. Scott Turner connected me with a forensic accountant named Peter Chang. Peter specialized in uncovering financial fraud, and he agreed to audit Robert Carter's business records. "If he has been hiding money or cooking books, I will find it," Peter promised. Failed businesses usually have interesting financial trails. While Peter worked, I reached out to Robert's former clients, not to badmouth him, just to ask questions. How long had they worked with him? Why had they ended the relationship? Were there any concerns about his professional conduct? The responses were illuminating. 3 clients mentioned money that had gone missing. 2 described projects Robert had built for but never completed. 1 suspected he had been using their business accounts for personal expenses. "This is embezzlement," Scott said when I showed him the evidence. "If we can prove it, Robert will not just face civil charges. He will face criminal prosecution." "How long will it take?" "Peter needs another week to trace everything. But Evelyn, once we file this, there is no going back. Robert could go to prison for years." I thought about Daniel, about Mason, about the ripple effects of destroying Robert completely. Then I thought about the spray-painted garage, the midnight phone calls, the custody hearing where Robert had lied under oath to hurt his own son. "File it," I said. Peter Chang's report arrived on a Tuesday morning, 153 pages documenting 11 years of financial misconduct. Robert had been embezzling from clients for years, covering his tracks with shell corporations and falsified invoices. His consulting business had not failed because of the economy. It had failed because he had been stealing from it. The total amount was over $800,000. This was fraud on a massive scale, Peter explained in Scott's office. He has been running a Ponzi-style scheme using new client money to pay old client obligations while skimming off the top. When the client base dried up, the whole thing collapsed. "Can we prove it in court?" "Every transaction is documented. Bank records, invoices, email correspondence. This is airtight." Scott Turner looked at me seriously. "Once we file this with the police and the State Bar Association, Robert Carter's life as he knows it is over. Are you absolutely certain?" I thought about Mrs. Lopez and the other tenants Robert had tried to drive away. About Daniel fighting for custody of Mason, about the forged power of attorney and the plan to have me committed. About 43 years of marriage built on lies I had been too trusting to see. "I am certain." We filed the complaint that afternoon. By evening, Detective Julia Grant called. "Mrs. Carter, the district attorney, Marcus Hill, wants to meet with you tomorrow. This is bigger than we initially thought." The DA's office was downtown in Boston, sterile and bureaucratic. DA Marcus Hill, a no-nonsense man in his 50s with sharp eyes, greeted me. "Mrs. Carter, if this evidence holds up, we are looking at multiple felony charges: wire fraud, embezzlement, money laundering. Your ex-husband could face 12 years in federal prison." The number hit me like a physical blow. 12 years. Robert would be 86 when he got out. "I need you to understand the implications," Hill continued. "This will be public, messy. Every detail of your marriage will be examined, the affair, the custody battle, everything. Are you prepared for that?" "Yes," I said more confidently than I felt. "Good. We will need your full cooperation, testimony documents, anything that supports the timeline of his fraudulent activity." Walking out of the DA's office, I felt simultaneously powerful and terrified. I had just set in motion something that could not be stopped. Robert would be arrested, his reputation destroyed, his freedom taken, and I had done it. That evening, Daniel called. "Mom, what did you do?" "Robert's attorney just contacted me. They are threatening to file harassment charges against you for malicious prosecution." I filed a complaint with the DA about Robert's business practices. They investigated and found evidence of fraud. Fraud? What kind of fraud? I explained everything: the embezzlement, the shell corporations, the $800,000 stolen from clients. Daniel was silent for a long time. "Jesus, Mom, he is going to prison." "Yes." "And you are okay with that?" "Are you?" Daniel sighed. "I do not know. He is still my father. But after everything he has done, maybe this is what he deserves." 2 days later, Robert Carter was arrested. It happened at his studio apartment at 6 a.m. I knew because Detective Julia Grant called to tell me. "He is being arraigned this afternoon. Bail hearing tomorrow." "Thought you would want to know." I drove to Boston for the arraignment, sitting in the back of the courtroom watching Robert Carter in an orange jumpsuit, handcuffed, looking older and smaller than I had ever seen him. The charges were read: 15 counts of wire fraud, 7 counts of embezzlement, and 5 counts of money laundering. The judge set bail at $600,000, which Robert could not possibly afford. He looked up, scanning the courtroom, and our eyes met. I saw rage there, and fear, and something else that might have been a broken understanding. This was really happening. The man I had married was going to prison because of evidence I had helped gather. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. Someone had tipped them off about the case. "Mrs. Carter, is it true your husband defrauded multiple businesses? Were you aware of his criminal activity?" Scott Turner steered me away from the cameras, but the damage was done. By that evening, the story was everywhere. Local consultant arrested for multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. My phone started ringing friends I had not spoken to in years, former neighbors, people who just wanted gossip. I turned it off and sat in the Nantucket beach house staring at the ocean. What had I become? The kind of person who destroyed her ex-husband. The kind of person who chose vengeance over mercy. But then I remembered the spray-painted garage, the custody hearing, the plan to have me declared incompetent. Robert had made his choices. He had committed crimes. I had just refused to be his accomplice through silence. Nancy called from Chicago. "I saw the news. How are you holding up?" "I do not know. I feel like I should feel guilty, but mostly I just feel tired." "You did the right thing. He hurt people, Eve. Real people who trusted him. You gave them justice." Maybe she was right. Or maybe we were both trying to justify something that could not be justified. That night, I dreamed about the day Robert and I got married. We were so young, so hopeful. I had believed in forever then, believed in the promises we made. When had it all gone wrong? Or had it always been wrong and I had just been too blind to see? I woke at dawn to the sound of my phone buzzing. Scott. "Evelyn, Robert's attorney, wants to make a deal. He will plead guilty to reduced charges if you agree not to testify in the civil fraud cases. The DA is willing to recommend 8 years instead of 12. 8 years, still a lifetime, but less than 12. What do you think I should do?" "That is not my decision," Scott said quietly. "It is yours. But Evelyn, whatever you choose, make sure you can live with it. Because once this is done, there is no going back." I stood on my porch, watching the sunrise paint the Nantucket Ocean in shades of gold and pink, and thought about mercy and justice, and the fine line between them. And I finally understood what Uncle Henry had been trying to teach me. That sometimes being strong meant making impossible choices. That sometimes protecting yourself meant hurting the people who hurt you first. That sometimes forgiveness was not the answer. "Tell the DA I will testify," I said. "No deals." The trial lasted 3 weeks. Every day I sat in that courtroom listening to evidence of Robert Carter's crimes. Former clients testified about missing money. Bank records showed elaborate schemes. Email exchanges revealed a calculated, methodical pattern of theft spanning 11 years. Robert's defense attorney tried to paint him as a desperate man driven to extremes by financial stress, but the evidence was overwhelming. This was not desperation. This was systematic fraud. On the witness stand, I testified about Robert's behavior in our final months together. The secrecy, the lies, the plan to have me committed. The defense attorney tried to make me look vindictive. "Mrs. Carter, is it not true you are only pursuing these charges because you are angry about your husband's affair?" "No," I said calmly. "I am pursuing these charges because he stole $800,000 from people who trusted him. The affair is between him and his conscience." The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, Robert would not look at me. "On the count of wire fraud, how do you find guilty? On the count of embezzlement, how do you find guilty?" 15 counts, 15 guilty verdicts. Robert's face went gray as reality sank in. Sentencing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. I did not attend. I had seen enough. Robert Carter received 12 years in federal prison. With good behavior, he would serve 8. He would be 86 when he got out. The civil cases followed. 5 former clients sued Robert for restitution. I testified in 3 of them. All 5 won judgments totaling over $1 million money Robert would never be able to pay. When it was finally over, I drove to the Nantucket beach house and did not leave for a week. I walked the beach, read books, cooked elaborate meals for one. I processed what I had done and what had been done to me. Daniel visited on Saturday. We sat on the porch, drinking coffee, watching surfers catch early morning waves. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Now that it is really over." "Empty," I admitted. "I thought I would feel victorious or justified. Instead, I just feel hollow." "He is my father, and he is gone. But honestly, Mom, I am relieved. Every day he was free was another day he could hurt someone, Yumi Mason. You did not destroy him, Mom. He destroyed himself. You just refused to go down with him." Chloe and Mason came running up from the beach, soaking wet and laughing. Mason threw his arms around Daniel's neck. "Daddy, look what I found. A perfect sand dollar hole in white." "That is amazing, buddy." Daniel held him close, and I saw that Mason was no longer Robert's weapon. He was just a little boy who loved his father. "Can we come back next weekend?" Chloe asked me. "I love the beach house." "Anytime you want, sweetheart." Watching them play in the surf, I realized this was Uncle Henry's real gift, not the property or the money, but the chance to rebuild, to create something honest. A month later, I hired Megan Foster full-time. She was brilliant at property management, better than I would ever be. Together, we renovated 2 vacant units and raised the rent on others to market rate. The buildings were thriving. I started taking photography classes at Bayview Community College. Something just for me, something that had nothing to do with property or revenge or rebuilding, just art. Nancy came to visit for a week. We walked the beach, cooked together, talked about everything and nothing. One evening she said, "You are different now, stronger, but also softer somehow." "I do not feel stronger." "That is because you are strong enough now that you do not have to prove it anymore." 6 months after the trial, I got a letter from Robert prison mail heavily censored. He had written pages, but most had been redacted. What remained was brief. "Evelyn, I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it. But I need you to know, I am sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Sorry I became the kind of man who could hurt you. You deserved better. You always did. I hope you find peace. I read the letter 3 times, then put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I would have a response, but not today. Today, I just let it be another piece of the past. The day I turned 68, I threw myself a party at the Nantucket beach house. Daniel and the kids came. Nancy flew in from Chicago. Megan brought her husband. Karen Blake and Alan Peters from the property management course showed up with champagne. We ate, drank, and laughed on the porch as the sun set over the Atlantic. Chloe played piano when Uncle Henry got in a piano, and Mason sang off-key. It was chaotic and perfect. "Happy birthday, Mom," Daniel said, pulling me aside. "This year has been insane." That is an understatement. But look at you. You are happy. Really happy. I cannot remember the last time I saw you like this. He was right. Standing on my porch, surrounded by people I loved, owning property, I had earned living a life I had chosen. I was happy. Uncle Henry had known what I needed even before I did. Not a rescue, but an opportunity, the chance to discover who Evelyn Carter could be when she stopped being who everyone else needed her to be. That night, after everyone left, I stood alone on the beach. The waves crashed against the shore, eternal and indifferent. Tomorrow, I would get up and manage properties, maybe take photos, call Nancy, have lunch with Daniel. But tonight, I just stood in the darkness and felt grateful for the inheritance that changed everything, for the betrayal that forced me to be strong, for the fight that taught me I could win. Robert was in prison. Lauren was in California. The buildings were profitable. Daniel was healing. And I was free. Not free from consequences or complications, but free to choose. Free to build. Free to be exactly who I wanted to be. I thought about the woman who had stood on this same porch 6 months ago, broken and betrayed, wondering if she had the strength to fight. She had found her answer, and Evelyn Carter was just getting started. Thanks for listening. Do not forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.